The council chamber was huge. Captain Minho Kang had been here many times before, but it still made him feel small. Representatives from dozens of alien species sat in circular rows that climbed up toward the ceiling. Some had scales. Some had fur. Some looked almost human, while others were so strange that Minho could barely understand how they moved or breathed. Minho stood beside Ambassador Yuna Park at the speaker's platform in the center. His uniform was pressed and perfect. His face showed nothing. Years of military training had taught him how to hide his feelings. Yuna stood even straighter than him. She wore a simple gray suit that looked plain compared to the colorful robes and armor of the aliens around them. They were here to warn the Galactic Council about a threat, a big one. The council meeting had been going for 3 hours. Species after species had spoken about the Dominion. That was the name of the enemy. They were an empire that was taking over everything in their path, conquering planets, enslaving populations, destroying anyone who fought back. The Dominion had started in the outer territories far from the Council's main worlds. At first, the Council thought it was not their problem, but the Dominion kept coming. They took one system, then another, then 10 more. Now they were getting close to Council space. Now everyone was scared. Counselor Vrexith was speaking now. He was from a species called the Calarians. They looked like tall insects with too many arms. Vrexith's voice came through the translation device as cold and sharp. "We must respond with force," Vrexith said, "but calculated force. We will assemble a fleet from all member species. We will meet the Dominion at the Threshold Nebula and stop them there." Other counselors nodded. Some made clicking sounds. Some hummed. All of them agreed. That was when Yuna pressed the button to request permission to speak. A light appeared above the human section. Vrexith looked down at them. His face was hard to read, but Minho thought he saw annoyance. "The humans wish to address the council," Vrexith said. "Very well. Speak quickly." Yuna walked forward. Her steps echoed in the massive chamber. When she spoke, her voice was calm and clear. "Honored counselors," Yuna began, "Earth has listened carefully to your plans. We understand the threat the Dominion represents. We have studied their tactics and their technology, and we believe your proposed response is insufficient." A wave of noise went through the chamber. Some aliens laughed. Others made sounds that the translation couldn't interpret. Vrexith held up one of his many hands. The noise stopped. "Insufficient," he said. "The humans think we are not strong enough." "How interesting. Please enlighten us with your vast experience in interstellar warfare." His tone was pure mockery. Minho felt his jaw tighten, but he kept his face blank. Yuna did not react at all. "The Dominion uses adaptive shield technology," Yuna continued. "They learn from each attack and adjust. Your fleet will use traditional energy weapons. The Dominion will counter them within hours. You will lose." "Speculation," Vrexith said. "Based on what data?" "Based on the 17 battles the Dominion has fought in the last year," Yuna said. "We have analyzed all of them. Every species that faced them used similar tactics to what you are planning." Every species lost. There was silence now. Uncomfortable silence. Yuna pressed forward. "Earth would like to offer assistance," she said. "We can provide military support, ships, tactics, experience." The laughter started immediately. It was not polite laughter. It was the kind of laughter that cuts. Vrexith did not even try to stop it this time. "The humans offer military assistance," Vrexith said, his voice dripping with amusement. "The same humans who nearly destroyed their own planet with their primitive wars. The same humans who have never fought beyond their own solar system. The same humans who we had to teach how to build a working faster-than-light drive." More laughter. Yuna waited for it to die down. "We understand your skepticism," Yuna said. Her voice was still calm. "But you should know that Earth has capabilities we have not yet revealed. We have been holding back, respecting the restrictions this council placed on us. If you allow us to help, we can—" "Enough," Vrexith cut her off. "This council does not need help from a junior species that can barely manage its own affairs. We appreciate your concern, but Earth will not be part of our military response. You lack the technology, the experience, and frankly, the credibility." He turned away from them, addressing the other counselors. "We will proceed as planned. A combined fleet will be assembled. We will meet the Dominion and stop their advance. The vote is called." The vote was quick. Every council member except Earth voted yes. Humanity was excluded from the military response. They were told to stay in their home system and wait. Yuna bowed slightly to the council and walked back to where Minho stood. Together they left the chamber. Nobody stopped them. Nobody thanked them for the warning. They walked in silence through the long corridors of the council station. Other aliens passed them, some glancing at them with what might have been pity. Most ignored them completely. Only when they reached their private transport ship did Minho finally speak. "Do you think they will listen?" he asked. "After they lose?" Yuna looked out the viewport at the stars. "If they survive," she said quietly. "If enough of them survive, maybe they will listen." Their ship, the Horizon, was waiting at the docking port. It was a diplomatic vessel, sleek and well-armed but designed for show rather than combat. Minho thought about the other ships, the ones that most aliens had never seen, the ones waiting in hidden shipyards throughout Earth's solar system. As they boarded, Minho's communication device buzzed. A message from Earth Defense Command. He read it quickly, then showed it to Yuna. It was short. "Shadow Fleet on standby." Awaiting further orders, Yuna nodded slowly. She walked to her quarters without another word. Minho went to the bridge. Young engineer Jihoon Choi was already there, running diagnostics on the ship's systems. Jihoon looked up when Minho entered. "How did it go, sir?" Jihoon asked. "About as expected," Minho said. "They laughed at us," Jihoon frowned. He was young, barely 25, and still believed that reason and evidence should win arguments. "But we showed them the data," Jihoon said. "We proved the Dominion is dangerous." "They don't care about our data," Minho said. He sat down in the captain's chair. "They see us as children. Violent, stupid children who got lucky enough to build spaceships. So what happens now?" Minho looked at the star map displayed on the main screen. The Threshold Nebula was marked in red. That was where the Council fleet would meet the Dominion. That was where hundreds of thousands of aliens would probably die. "Now we wait," Minho said. "We watch, and when they finally ask for help, we will be ready." Far away, in a hidden facility orbiting Jupiter, Commander Taehyun Lee received the same message that Minho had seen. "Shadow Fleet on standby." Taehyun stood on the command deck of the UES Indomitable, the flagship of a fleet that no alien had ever seen. Around him, dozens of officers worked at their stations, maintaining systems and running endless simulations. The Shadow Fleet consisted of 340 warships. Each one was built with technology that Earth had developed in secret over 50 years. Technology that made Council weapons look like toys. Humanity had learned long ago to keep some secrets, to show only what they wanted others to see. Taehyun pulled up the tactical report on the Dominion. He had read it 100 times already. The enemy was strong, yes, but they were predictable. They relied on their adaptive shields and superior numbers. They thought brute force was enough. They had never fought humans before. "Sir," one of his officers said, "long-range scanners show the Council fleet is beginning to assemble at the Threshold Nebula." "Noted," Taehyun said. "Continue monitoring. I want every detail of that battle when it happens." "Yes, sir." Taehyun turned back to the viewport. Out there in the darkness, warships were gathering. Aliens who thought they were the strongest power in the galaxy. They were about to learn how wrong they were, and after they learned, maybe then they would understand. Humanity had been holding back, but not for much longer. 3 months had passed since the Council rejected Earth's warning. 3 months of watching and waiting. The Horizon floated near a listening post at the edge of Council space. On the bridge, the crew monitored communications from across the galaxy. Today was the day. The Galactic Council fleet had arrived at the Threshold Nebula. Jihoon Choi sat at his station, his hands moving quickly across the display screens. Long-range sensors picked up everything happening light years away. "The battle was about to begin, Captain," Jihoon said. "I'm reading 847 Council ships. They're forming attack positions." Minho stood behind Jihoon's chair, watching the data stream in. Each ship was represented by a small blue dot on the tactical display. There were so many of them, ships from 12 different species all working together. It should have been impressive. But Minho had read the intelligence reports. He knew what was coming. "Dominion fleet?" he asked. "For 12 ships," Jihoon said. "The Council outnumbers them 2-1. "Numbers won't matter," Minho said quietly. Ambassador Yuna entered the bridge. She looked tired. She had been working non-stop, trying to convince individual Council members to listen. None of them would. "Pride was more important than sense. Has it started?" she asked. "Any moment now," Minho said. They all watched the screens. For a few minutes, nothing happened. The two fleets faced each other across the emptiness of space. Then the first energy beams lanced out. The battle had begun. At first, it looked like the Council was winning. Their ships fired in coordinated volleys. Blue and green energy beams lit up the darkness. The Dominion ships took hits. Some of their shields flickered. A few small vessels broke apart. Jihoon smiled. They're doing it. They're actually winning. Minho said nothing. He kept watching. 1 hour passed. The battle continued. The Council fleet pressed forward, maintaining their numerical advantage. Dominion ships fell back, regrouping. It looked like a retreat. Then everything changed. The Dominion ships stopped retreating. Their shields, which had been flickering and weak, suddenly brightened. The Council's energy weapons hit them and did nothing. Nothing at all. The beams just splashed against the shields like water against stone. What happened? Jihoon asked. Why aren't their weapons working? Adaptive shields, Yuna said. Her voice was hollow. The Dominion let them attack for an hour. They studied the weapons, analyzed the energy frequencies. Now their shields are tuned to block everything the Council is using. The Dominion counterattack was devastating. Their weapons tore through Council ships like they were made of paper. Massive red beams that cut vessels in half. Missiles that exploded with terrible force. Within minutes, dozens of Council ships were destroyed. The tactical display showed blue dots disappearing one after another. Each dot was a ship. Each ship had hundreds of crew members. Jihoon's face went pale as he watched the death toll climb. They're trying to retreat, Jihoon said. Why aren't they retreating? The Dominion is jamming their communications, Minho said. The Council ships can't coordinate. They don't know which direction to run. The slaughter continued for hours. The Dominion showed no mercy. They targeted engines first, crippling ships so they couldn't escape. Then they destroyed life support. Crews died slowly, suffocating in the void. The Dominion broadcast their screams on open channels. It was psychological warfare designed to break the spirit of anyone who heard it. Jihoon had to leave the bridge twice to vomit. He was young. He had never seen real war before. None of the Council members had. They thought war was something noble, something with rules and honor. The Dominion taught them different. Yuna received a transmission. It was encrypted from a Council member she knew. She listened to it privately, then closed her eyes for a long moment. They want us to help, she said. Officially? Minho asked. No, Yuna said. That was a personal plea. The Council leadership still refuses to ask for human assistance. Minho's jaw tightened. So they'll let their people die rather than admit they were wrong. Yes, Yuna said simply. The battle lasted 18 hours total. When it finally ended, only 103 Council ships escaped. The rest were destroyed or captured. More than 500,000 soldiers were dead. Entire species had lost their entire military forces. The Horizon's crew sat in stunned silence. They had watched it all happen. They had been powerless to stop it. I need to contact Earth, Yuna said. She stood up slowly like an old woman, though she was only 45. The Council will call for us eventually. They will have no choice. We need to be ready. She left the bridge. Minho turned to Jihoon. Get some rest, he said gently. Tomorrow will be worse. But how can it be worse? Jihoon asked. Because tomorrow the Dominion will broadcast their terms. They will demand surrender, and the Council will have to decide if their pride is worth more than their survival. On Earth, Commander Taehyun Lee received the full battle data. He had watched the engagement from his command center, hidden deep within Jupiter's orbit. His officers had analyzed every moment of the fight. The Dominion's adaptive shields are impressive, one officer said, but they have a weakness. They need time to analyze enemy weapons. If we cycle through different weapon types fast enough, we can overwhelm them. Noted, Taehyun said. What about their tactics? Brutal but predictable, another officer said. They rely on superior technology and psychological warfare. They expect their enemies to break and run. They're not prepared for an opponent who fights back intelligently. Taehyun nodded. He pulled up a communication channel to Fleet Admiral Soo-Jin Kim on Earth. She answered immediately. You saw the battle? Taehyun asked. I did, Soo-Jin said. She was an older woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. The Council is broken. They'll have to ask for help now. And when they do, we respond, Soo-Jin said. But on our terms. No more restrictions. No more being treated like children. If they want our help, they accept us as equals. Understood, Taehyun said. The Shadow Fleet is ready. He ended the call and looked out at his fleet. 340 warships, each one more advanced than anything the Council had. Crews trained to a level that would shock the galaxy. Weapons designed specifically to counter threats like the Dominion. Earth had been preparing for 50 years. Building in secret, training in shadows, waiting for the moment when the galaxy would finally need them. That moment was coming soon. The next day, just as Minho had predicted, the Dominion broadcast their terms. Surrender immediately. Submit to their rule. Any resistance would result in the complete destruction of Council space. Every world, every species. The Council had 1 week to respond. On the 6th day, Ambassador Una Park received a private communication. It was from Counselor Vrexith, the same alien who had mocked humanity just 3 months ago. His voice was different now. Quiet, desperate. Ambassador Park, he said. We need to speak. Privately. Please. Una looked at Minho. He nodded. Of course, Counselor, Una said. I will be available whenever you wish. The call that would change everything was about to happen. The Council's pride was finally breaking, and humanity was ready to answer, but they would answer on their own terms. The meeting room was small and private, just Una and Counselor Vrexith, no recording devices, no other witnesses. This conversation was not happening officially. Vrexith looked different than he had 3 months ago. His posture was slumped. His many arms hung limp at his sides. When he spoke, his voice lacked the arrogance that had defined him. Thank you for meeting with me, Ambassador, he said. Una sat across from him. Her face was neutral. Of course, Counselor. How can I help you? Vrexith was silent for a moment. He seemed to be struggling with something. Pride, probably. Finally he spoke. You were right, he said. About the Dominion. About everything. We were fools, yes, Una said simply. She did not try to soften it. Vrexith flinched slightly. My homeworld is in their path. The Dominion will reach it within 2 months. My people are evacuating, but there is nowhere to go. Everywhere is in danger now. I am sorry, Una said, and she meant it. Despite everything, she felt no pleasure in being right. The Council is debating surrender, Vrexith continued. Half of them want to accept the Dominion's terms. The other half wants to keep fighting, but we have no military left. The few ships that survived are scattered and demoralized. And what do you want, Counselor? Vrexith looked directly at her. His insect eyes were impossible to read, but his voice carried desperation. We need Earth's help, he said. We need humanity's military. Your ships, your weapons, your tactics, there it was. The admission they had waited months to hear. Una let the words hang in the air for a moment before responding. Are you officially requesting military assistance from Earth? She asked. Not officially, Vrexith said quickly. Not yet. The full Council would need to vote on that. But I can influence that vote. I can make it happen. I just need to know. If we ask, will you help us? Una considered her answer carefully. This was the moment everything had been building toward. She could not rush it. Earth will help, she said. But we have conditions. Vrexith's body tensed. What conditions? First, human forces will operate independently. We will coordinate with Council military, but we will not take orders from them. Our commanders make their own decisions. Vrexith started to object, but Una continued. Second, all restrictions on human expansion and military development are permanently lifted. No more limits on where we can travel or what we can build. That is, Vrexith began. Third, Una said, her voice firm, after the Dominion is defeated, Earth receives full voting rights in the Galactic Council. Equal status with every other member species. No more junior membership. No more being dismissed or ignored. Vrexith was quiet. His many hands moved in what might have been agitation or thought. When he finally spoke, his voice was bitter. You asked for everything we refused you 3 months ago. Yes, Una said. 3 months ago you had the luxury of pride. Now you do not. The Council will argue these terms are too much, Vrexith said. Then the Council will fall, Una said. And humanity will protect our own territory. We will survive. Can the Council say the same? It was not a threat. It was simply fact. Earth could defend itself. The Council could not. Vrexith knew it. Everyone knew it. I will bring these terms to the full Council, Vrexith said quietly, but I cannot promise they will agree. Then I wish you luck, Counselor, Una said. She stood to leave. Ambassador, Frexith said. She paused. When you warned us 3 months ago, you knew this would happen, didn't you? Yes, Una said. We studied the Dominion. We knew exactly how dangerous they were. We tried to tell you. Why did we not listen? Una looked back at him. Because you thought we were primitive, weak, children playing with technology we did not understand. You could not imagine that humans might know something you did not. She left the room. Frexith sat alone in the silence. 2 days later, the Galactic Council held an emergency session. The debate was fierce and angry. Many counselors argued that accepting human conditions was surrender, that it would make them look weak. Others pointed out they had no choice. A representative from a species called the Tharn spoke passionately. Her people had lost their entire fleet at the Threshold Nebula. Her voice shook with emotion. We are already weak, she said. The Dominion proved that. They destroyed us in hours. Our pride means nothing if we are all dead. If the humans can save us, then I say give them whatever they ask. The vote was called. It was close. Very close. But in the end, survival won over pride. The motion passed by just 12 votes. Earth was officially requested to provide military assistance. All of humanity's conditions were accepted. The message was transmitted to Earth Defense Command within hours. On Jupiter's hidden moon base, Commander Taehyun Lee received the authorization code he had been waiting for. His hands did not shake as he entered the command sequence. Around him, the command center came alive with activity. All ships, he broadcast on the Shadow Fleet channel. This is command. Execute Protocol 7. I repeat, execute Protocol 7. Shadow Fleet is now active. Across Earth's solar system, hidden shipyards opened. Massive doors that had been concealed for decades slid apart. Ships began emerging from the darkness. Carriers, battleships, cruisers, destroyers, frigates, support vessels, 40 warships in total. Each one a masterpiece of human engineering. Each one equipped with weapons and systems that the Council had never seen. Each one crewed by soldiers who had trained their entire lives for this moment. This was not the small, limited military that Earth had shown to the galaxy. This was humanity's true strength, hidden, prepared, deadly. Taehyun watched as his fleet assembled in formation. It was beautiful, terrifying, perfect. Fleet Admiral Kim is on the line, sir, an officer said. Admiral Sujin Kim's face appeared on the screen. She looked satisfied. Commander Lee, she said, you have full authorization. Proceed to the Tertian system and engage Dominion forces. Show them what humanity can do. Understood, Admiral, Taehyun said. Shadow Fleet will not disappoint, he turned to his crew. All ships calculate jump coordinates for the Tertian system. We leave in 1 hour. The Horizon received new orders as well. Captain Minho was to rendezvous with the Shadow Fleet and serve as liaison with Council forces. Ambassador Yuna would coordinate diplomatic efforts while the military operation proceeded. Jihoon was on the bridge when the orders came through. He pulled up long-range scanners and saw something impossible. Hundreds of ships. Human ships. Ships that had not existed an hour ago, Captain, he said, his voice shaking. Where did all those ships come from? Minho looked at the display and allowed himself a small smile. They have always been there, Jihoon, he said. We just kept them hidden. The galaxy thought we were weak. We let them think that. But now it is time to show them the truth. What is the truth? Jihoon asked. Minho turned to face him. His expression was serious. That humanity learned from our mistakes. We fought terrible wars on Earth. Wars that almost destroyed us. We learned that if we ever went to the stars, we needed to be ready. Ready for anything. Ready for everyone. So we built. We prepared. We trained. And we waited. For what? For the day the galaxy needed us, Minho said. That day is here. 1 hour later, the Shadow Fleet activated their faster-than-light drives. The stars stretched and twisted. When they reappeared, they would be at the Tertian system, where Dominion forces occupied a council world. It would be humanity's first battle in an interstellar war. The galaxy was watching, and they were about to learn that Earth had been holding back all along. The Shadow Fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Tertian system. Commander Taehyun Lee stood on the bridge of the UES Indomitable, watching the tactical display light up with data. All ships reporting in, his communications officer said. 340 vessels, all systems green. Good, Taehyun said. Launch reconnaissance drones. I want full scans of the Dominion positions before we engage. The Tertian system was occupied. The Dominion had 180 warships in orbit around the main planet. Below on the surface, millions of Tertians were living under enemy rule. The Dominion had taken this world 3 weeks ago. They were using it as a forward base. Across the galaxy, hundreds of species were watching. The Council had broadcast that humanity was coming. Everyone wanted to see what would happen. Would the humans succeed where the Council had failed, or would they be destroyed just as quickly? On the horizon, watching from a safe distance, Ji-hoon monitored the feeds. His hands were sweating. This was real. This was actually happening. The Dominion is detecting them, he said. They're moving to intercept. Minho stood beside him, arms crossed. How do they look? Confident, Ji-hoon said. They're forming their standard battle formation, the same one they used against the Council. They think this will be easy, Minho said. They have no idea what they are facing. The Dominion ships moved into attack position. Their formation was tight and disciplined. They had done this many times before. They knew how to win. Taehyun watched them approach. His tactical officer was feeding him constant updates. Enemy fleet at 200,000 kilometers and closing. Their adaptive shields are activating. They're preparing to analyze our weapons. Noted, Taehyun said. All ships execute attack pattern Sigma 7. Weapon rotation protocol is active. Fire when ready. The Shadow Fleet opened fire. But it was not like the Council's attack. The Council had used energy weapons. Beam weapons that all worked the same way. The Dominion's shields had learned to block them. Humanity used everything. Kinetic railguns fired solid slugs at incredible speeds. Plasma torpedoes launched in waves. Electromagnetic pulse weapons scrambled enemy systems. Zero-point energy beams cut through space. Missile swarms with independent targeting spread across the battlefield. And every 3 minutes the human ships switched. New weapons, new frequencies, new tactics. The Dominion's adaptive shields tried to keep up. They blocked the railgun rounds so the humans switched to plasma. They adapted to plasma so the humans used EMPs. They compensated for EMPs so the humans brought out the energy beams. The shields could not adapt fast enough. Dominion ships started taking damage. Real damage. Their shields flickered and failed. Hulls ruptured. Engines exploded. They're breaking formation, Ji-hoon said, watching from the horizon. His voice was amazed. The Dominion is actually retreating. No, Minho said, studying the patterns. They are trying to regroup. They want to analyze human tactics and adapt. Will it work? Watch, Minho said. The Dominion ships pulled back into a defensive sphere. It was a smart formation. They protected their damaged vessels while their computers worked to understand the human attack patterns. But the Shadow Fleet did not give them time. Human ships broke into smaller groups. Wolf packs, Taehyun called them. Groups of 5 to 7 ships that worked together with perfect coordination. They did not stay in one place. They moved constantly, using short faster-than-light jumps to appear and disappear. A wolf pack would appear behind the Dominion. Formation, attack, vanish. Another pack would appear on the side, attack, vanish. A third pack would come from above. The Dominion could not track them. Their ships were designed for traditional fleet battles. Not this, not chaos, not speed, not enemies that refused to stay still. One by one, Dominion ships were isolated, surrounded, destroyed. Taehyun watched it all with cold efficiency. This was what humanity excelled at. Humans had spent thousands of years fighting each other. They had learned every dirty trick, every tactical advantage, every way to win. The Dominion had been fighting aliens who valued honor, who followed rules, who fought in predictable ways. Humans did not fight that way. Enemy attempting communication. The communications officer said. They want to negotiate. Ignore it, Taehyun said. Continue attack. The Dominion had not negotiated with the Council. They had destroyed them without mercy. They had broadcast the screams of dying aliens as psychological warfare. Humanity remembered, and humanity did not forgive. The battle lasted 4 hours and 17 minutes. At the end, 176 Dominion ships were destroyed or disabled. 4 had managed to escape into faster-than-light travel, fleeing the system. Human casualties. 4 ships destroyed, 22 ships damaged, approximately 3,000 personnel dead or wounded. The ratio was devastating. For every human who died, more than 100 Dominion soldiers had fallen. On the horizon, Ji-hoon sat back in his chair, Stunned, he had watched the entire battle. He had seen the Council fleet destroyed at the Threshold Nebula. That had been a massacre. This was different. This was dominance. Complete and total dominance. Is it over? He asked quietly. The battle is over, Minho said. The war has just begun. Taehyun sent out a broadcast. It was transmitted on all Dominion frequencies. Short, simple, effective. This is Commander Taehyun Lee of the Earth Defense Force. The Tertian system is now under human protection. All Dominion forces in Council space have 24 hours to withdraw. If you do not leave, you will be destroyed. We will show you the same mercy you showed the Council. None. The message ended. Taehyun turned to his crew. Begin recovery operations. Collect our people. Repair what can be repaired. We move to the next target in 12 hours. Across the galaxy, billions of aliens had watched the battle. The feeds had been transmitted everywhere. Council chambers, military academies, private homes. Everyone had seen it. Humanity had crushed the Dominion. Easily. Efficiently. Without mercy. The species that everyone thought was weak. The species that everyone had mocked. They had just demonstrated military power that exceeded anything the Council possessed. On the Council station, Counselor Vrexith watched the battle recordings. He watched them 3 times. His hands shook slightly as he did. A junior aide approached him. Sir, there is a meeting. The Council wants to discuss the human victory. Vrexith did not look away from the screen. Tell them I will be there shortly. The aide hesitated. Sir, if I may ask, what are you thinking? Vrexith finally looked at him. I am thinking that we made a terrible mistake. The humans offered to help us 3 months ago. We laughed at them. We mocked them. We thought they were primitive warriors with stolen technology. And now? The aide asked. Now I realize something, Vrexith said. The humans were not asking for permission to help. They were being polite. They were giving us a choice. Work with them or get out of their way. You think they are dangerous? I think they are terrifying, Vrexith said. But I also think they are the only reason we might survive this war. Come, we have much to discuss. Ambassador Yuna received dozens of communications that day. Council members thanking her, praising humanity, asking for more help. It was almost funny. 3 months ago, these same people had dismissed Earth completely. She answered each message politely and professionally. She promised that Earth would continue to assist, that human forces would liberate every occupied system, but she did not forget. She remembered every insult, every dismissal, every time humanity had been treated as lesser. Respect was easy to give after a victory. The real test would come later, when the fighting was over. Would the galaxy remember what humanity had done? Would they honor their agreements? Yuna did not know, but she was determined to ensure that humanity would never be dismissed again. The Shadow Fleet prepared to move to the next target. The war was far from over. The Dominion controlled hundreds of systems. It would take months to drive them out. But after the Battle of Tertia, everyone knew how it would end. The Dominion had awakened something they did not understand. They had pushed the galaxy to the point where humanity could no longer hold back. Now they would learn what it meant to fight Earth, and it would not be gentle. 4 months after the Battle of Tertia, the war had changed completely. Commander Taehyun Lee stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, reviewing the latest reports. His fleet had liberated 47 systems. The Dominion was retreating everywhere. The humans were winning decisively, but victory brought new problems. The Galactic Council was grateful, yes. They praised humanity in public. But in private, some council members were growing worried. Earth was becoming too powerful, too important. Some aliens feared that humans would replace the Dominion as the new threat. Taehyun knew about these concerns. Ambassador Yuna kept him informed. But he did not let politics distract him from the mission. There was still work to do. Sir, his tactical officer said, intelligence reports indicate the Dominion is massing forces at the Singing Void. It looks like they are preparing for a major counteroffensive. Taehyun studied the star map. The Singing Void was a region of space between Dominion territory and Council space. It was a strategic location. If the Dominion could hold it, they could stop the human advance. How many ships? He asked. Estimates range from 2,500 to 3,000 vessels. Everything they have left. This will be their last stand. Taehyun nodded slowly. Then we will meet them there. Send word to Earth, request reinforcements. We will need everything we can get for this battle. On the Council station, Ambassador Una was dealing with different challenges. A faction of counselors led by Vrexith had proposed new restrictions on human military operations. They claimed it was for coordination purposes, but Una saw through it. They were trying to limit Earth's power before the war even ended. Other counselors opposed these restrictions. Species whose worlds had been saved by humans argued that Earth deserved complete freedom of action. The council was splitting into two camps. Una walked a careful line. She met with counselors from both sides. She listened to their concerns. She promised that humanity had no desire to dominate the galaxy, but she also made clear that Earth would not accept a return to junior status. "You must understand our position, Ambassador," one counselor said during a private meeting. "Your military is now stronger than all of ours combined. How can we trust that you will not use that power against us?" "How can you not trust us?" Una replied. "We could have used our power at any time in the last 50 years. We chose to wait. We respected your authority even when you treated us with contempt. We only acted when you asked us to." "The past is not a guarantee of the future," the counselor said. "Then what is?" Una asked. "What would make you trust us?" The counselor had no answer. The debate continued for weeks, but it was interrupted by urgent news. The Dominion was moving. Their entire remaining fleet was heading toward the Singing Void. If they won there, they could push back into Council space. Everything humanity had accomplished would be at risk. Earth responded by sending additional battle groups. The Shadow Fleet grew to 520 ships. It was the largest human military force ever assembled. They would face nearly 3,000 Dominion vessels in what would become the biggest space battle in history. On the horizon, now stationed near the Singing Void to coordinate communications, Ji-hoon prepared for the battle. He had grown much in 4 months. He was no longer the nervous young engineer who had vomited at the sight of war. He had seen too much, done too much, changed too much, Captain, he said to Minho. "Do you think we can win?" Minho looked at the tactical display. The two fleets were positioning for battle. The Dominion had the numbers, but humanity had experience, technology, and determination. "I think we will do what we always do," Minho said. "We will fight. We will adapt. We will win." The Battle of the Singing Void began at 800 hours Galactic Standard Time. The Dominion attacked first, launching thousands of missiles in coordinated waves. They had learned from previous battles. They knew they could not defeat human technology, so they tried to overwhelm it with numbers. The Shadow Fleet responded with point defense systems, rapid-fire railguns that shot down incoming missiles, energy screens that vaporized ordnance before it could hit. The humans lost some ships, but far fewer than the Dominion expected. Then the human fleet counterattacked. They used the same tactics that had worked before. Multiple weapon types, constant movement, wolfpack formations. But the Dominion was ready this time. They had adapted their own tactics. The battle turned into a brutal slugfest. Ships from both sides exploded. Thousands died every hour. The fighting spread across millions of kilometers of space. It was chaos, beautiful and terrible at the same time. Taehyun commanded from the center of the formation. His flagship took heavy damage. Hull breaches, system failures, fires on multiple decks, but he refused to retreat. If he fell back, the entire fleet might break. "Commander," his executive officer said, "we have lost 30% of our shields. Hull integrity at 60%. I recommend we pull back and let another ship take the lead." "Negative," Taehyun said. "We hold this position. Route auxiliary power to forward weapons. All batteries continuous fire." The battle raged for 3 days. Neither side could gain a decisive advantage. The Dominion had numbers. Humanity had skill. It seemed like it might end in mutual destruction. Then something unexpected happened. Council ships arrived. Not many. Only 103 vessels, the survivors from the Threshold Nebula disaster. They had been rebuilt and repaired. Their crews had been retrained, and they had come to fight alongside humanity. "This is Council Fleet Commander Valaxis," a transmission came through. "Human forces, we are here to assist. Tell us where you need us," Taehyun smiled. It was a small smile, but real. "Commander Valaxis, take position on our left flank. Help us break their defensive line." "Understood. It is an honor to fight beside you." The Council ships joined the battle. They were not as advanced as human vessels, not as well coordinated. but they fought with determination. These were soldiers who had been defeated and humiliated. Now they had a chance for redemption. The combined human and council attack broke through the Dominion line. The enemy formation collapsed. Ships began fleeing. Within hours, the battle turned into a rout. When it ended, the Dominion fleet was destroyed. A few hundred ships escaped, but their military power was broken forever. They would never threaten the galaxy again. Human casualties were heavy. 87 ships destroyed, 142 damaged. Nearly 30,000 personnel dead or wounded. Council losses were proportionally higher. But they had won. Together, Taehyun stood on the damaged bridge of the Indomitable, looking at the debris field where thousands of ships had died. His uniform was torn. He had a cut above his eye from when a console exploded. But he was alive, sir, his communications officer said. We are receiving messages from across the galaxy. Celebrations. Gratitude. The war is over. The fighting is over, Taehyun corrected. The real work begins now, he was right. Humanity had proven themselves as warriors. But could they prove themselves as peacekeepers? Could they build a lasting partnership with species who had doubted them? On the council station, Counselor Vrexith watched the battle reports. He had been one of the voices calling for restrictions on humanity. But watching humans fight and die alongside council forces had changed something in him. He opened a communication channel to Ambassador Yuna. Ambassador Park, he said, I owe you an apology. Several apologies, actually. Yuna appeared on the screen. She looked tired but composed. Counselor Vrexith, what can I do for you? I wanted you to know that I will be proposing a new motion to the council, he said. Full partnership status for Earth. No restrictions. No conditions. Equal voting rights on all matters. Yuna was quiet for a moment. You opposed this before. I was wrong, Vrexith said simply. I let prejudice cloud my judgment. I thought your species was dangerous because of your violent history. I did not understand that your history made you strong, made you capable of protecting not just yourselves but all of us. Thank you, Counselor, Yuna said. That means more than you know. Will humanity accept, he asked. Will you be partners with us despite how we treated you? Yuna smiled slightly. Counselor, we did not fight this war for revenge. We fought it because it was necessary. Because it was right. Yes, we will accept partnership. We will work with the council to build something better. Then let us begin, Vrexith said. The galaxy has much to rebuild, and much to learn on the horizon. Captain Minho received orders to return to Earth. His crew had earned rest. Jihoon sat at his station, running final diagnostics before the journey home. Sir, Jihoon said, do you think things will really change? Will the council remember what humanity did for them? Minho considered the question. I think some will remember. Others will forget as soon as it is convenient. But enough will remember. Enough to make a difference. And us? Jihoon asked. How will we remember it? We will remember that we were underestimated, Minho said. That we were doubted and dismissed. And we will remember that we proved ourselves not through words but through action. That is the lesson we must carry forward. The horizon turned toward Earth. Toward home. The war was over. Humanity had shown the galaxy what they were capable of. They had been holding back all along, and when they finally revealed their strength, it changed everything. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Earth told them they were holding back. They did not listen. Now they knew the truth, and they would never underestimate humanity again.